You're about to listen to Kelly Martin Speaks. I'm your host Kelly, and the author of When Everyone Shines But You, a mental health and self-acceptance blogger and a recovering darkness addict. I have experienced intense anxiety, deep depression and life trauma, but I'm coming out of the other side now. Darkness was a comfort zone for me for a long time, and it felt safer than the light. So in this podcast I share with you my journey into the light and how I move through challenge in an empowering way. I'll share with you tools and nurturing ways to embrace your humanity. I was once a shy, scared introvert, afraid to speak, but that's all changing. Let's take this journey together and learn to fly. Hi there, welcome back to Kelly Martin Speaks. I'm your host Kelly Martin and this is episode 101. Today I'm going to talk about feeling lost. I've noticed quite a few people recently have been talking about feeling lost. The current changing reality related to the pandemic and the ways we have to relate to one another through social distancing is amplifying this feeling for many right now. I felt lost a lot in my life, so it's a familiar feeling to me. To many who have lived maybe a fuller, more busier life, having less to do, feeling a change of identity, especially if you identified with your role in life. Be it working role, your social role. This can come as a huge shock and can actually feel quite depressing. It's what those of us who talk about a spiritual journey mean when we say we are in the void. Now the void, it's not a bad place to be. It's a place of much potential and possibility. It's a time of considering what works, what doesn't, and deciding whether we want to change things, to maybe slow things down or speed things up a notch. Now, if it's your first time having a more prolonged feeling of being lost, I'm going to share with you some of the tips I've gained from being in the void. But first I want to share a very relevant message from the spiritual teacher, Jeff Foster. And it's called Trust the Darkness. If you are lost, if nothing makes sense anymore, if all your reference points have collapsed, the old life is crumbling now, if the mind is foggy, tired, busy, if the organism is exhausted and longs to rest, celebrate, trust. This is a rite of passage. It's not an error. You are healing in your own original way. Contact the ground now. Breathe in, out. Make room for the visitors, the sorrow, doubt, fear, anger. An ancient emptiness that just wants to be felt. They just want to pass through. You are a vessel, not the separate self. You are the sky, not the passing weather. The old life is falling away. A new life is being born. Others may not understand, but trust anyway. Celebrate. Contact the ground. Now, during the void, this is exactly what it feels like to feel lost. You see, the old life no longer resonates. You're not sure what the new life is. And you stand there dangling between the two places. In our modern day society, we've been misled to believe that being lost is wrong. That we must find our way and do it quickly. We've been taught that we mustn't linger in the void or this lost place, and we must grab onto something. Anything that looks structured and organised. I remember when I was in my 20s, I had just returned from backpacking around Australia. I'd gone from a life of structure, college, university, work as well, and so I took some time off. I took a year off and worked around Australia. But most of the time I just let go of all the normal routines and I travelled. And I got used to the freedom of not knowing what was next or what I would see or do. I loved the feeling of following my instincts, not having anyone telling me that I should do this or do that. And so when I returned, I was in a state of shock. I moved back into my parents' home for a while, and I had to go into a tiny room as my sister had been given my room while I was away. And this room had one window, and it wasn't even a proper window either. You couldn't see through it. So I felt claustrophobic and really hemmed in. When I got home, the pressure was on immediately to get work. I was no longer at university, and my father had been brought up on the work ethos that you work hard, and it doesn't matter if you like it, you just work hard. So I felt forced into structure. I never got the time to be in that lost space, that void. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life, and I didn't have time to consider it. And one day I was at a temporary job. It was a reception job, which was awful. I had no training. I felt very anxious, and the entire place smelled of fish. It was a seafood factory. And I hated every minute of it, so I walked out. When I got home, my father shouted at me and called me lazy. And as a result, I've been working through this conditioning and trying to find the balance between following my instincts, choosing what works for me, and not getting lost in other people's desires for me. My father, like many of his generation, were never taught to sit idly by and do nothing. To be idle was to be lazy. To simply be was wrong. Imagine many people have this kind of unconscious programming that prevents them from embracing the void or being in this lost place. So right now, if you are feeling in a lost place, be it generally in life or because of the pandemic and the lockdown measures, maybe try to do the following. Now, number one on my list of to-dos is, or to-don'ts, don't try and fix the lost feeling. Allow it to simply be something that you're feeling, and that's all it is. Number two, allow the feelings that arise from sadness, doubt, fear, anger, frustration, and even a sense of an urgency. As Jeff said, welcome these visitors to your life experience. Ask yourself if the life that you feel lost from, was it nourishing you in all ways? Perhaps the lost feeling is highlighting to you how you perhaps were not meeting all of your own needs. You may have been meeting your financial needs, your work needs, your social needs, but were you meeting your spiritual needs, your soul needs, and your emotional needs? It's very valuable to think about this because I think we meet so many needs, but we don't always meet everything. Number 4 on my list is see if you can and stop the need to fill the lost feeling or the feeling of the void. For example, we may surf social media, we may overeat, We may take too many stimulants, like drinking too much coffee, when perhaps any brain fog that we may feel is just simply encouraging us to rest. And going into this, number 5 is take some time out to rest more. Take an afternoon nap. Instead of fueling your day with stimulation you haven't got to be doing all the time. You haven't got to be productive all of the time, especially when you're in a lost place or in the void. And number 6 is let go of the need to make important decisions. Now is not the time. When you're feeling lost, you can't really make decisions from a strong place anyway. So wait until the time is right. And number 7, maybe you can use your time for more reflective moments like meditation, creativity, journaling, art, playing music, whatever just gets you into the flow of who you are right now and gets you into the moment. Now, during this time when you feel lost, try not to think that you are going backwards or missing out on something. Whatever you're meant to experience, you will, at the exact time you are meant to experience it, not a moment before. This is a time of letting go of control. It's a time to remember that nothing is permanent and that everything changes. Right now, you're simply feeling lost, and this is okay. It's more than okay. You will find your path, your direction, and your flow when it's time to do so. But for now, take it easy. Practice self-kindness and allow life to simply be. Thanks for listening to this episode of Kelly Martin Speaks. If you have a question or topic you're struggling with and you'd like me to answer this on an upcoming episode, please get in touch. Your name will be confidential. Email me at kellymartinspeaks@gmail.com or message me on Facebook via my page Kelly Martin Speaks. And don't forget, if you feel that others are passing you by and the not good enough voice is screaming loudly, pop by kellymartin.co.uk to find out all about my books, including Book 1, When Everyone Shines But You. And you can also support my channel via my podcast page on my website, kellymartinspeaks.co.uk. You can do this via PayPal or you can buy me a coffee via Ko-fi. Until next time, bye for now. You've been listening to my podcast, Kelly Martin Speaks. I'd really appreciate your feedback. If you're listening on iTunes, please give me a review. It helps me be seen and heard by those that need it. You can also follow me on kellymartinspeaks.co.uk, where you can read my blogs, find out about my book series, and subscribe to my monthly newsletter. I'm also all over social media, so search for me via Kelly Martin Speaks on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. I'll speak to you next week. Bye.